Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. We are talking about Marvel's latest Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, written and directed by James Gunn. I wasn't planning on a show tonight, but I realized that we have a big show tomorrow night that includes our special guest that is tonight for the reading of My Shadow. It's my next narrative film project, and we're doing an audio play version. We did a run through on Wednesday and it went smashingly, and tomorrow night we're going to premiere it. It's going to be up for 24 hours and then I'm taking it down. Will be an encore replaying a week later, and then it will go to Patreon where it shall live. I think I don't plan to have it out in any capacity because eventually the plan is to turn that into a feature-length film. I'm very excited. My throat is a little throaty tonight, so you have to excuse it. I took my son to go see Guardians of the Galaxy tonight, the third one. I have thoughts. I know my guest has thoughts because he was like, "Hey man, if you're doing Guardians of the Galaxy, I want in." I was like, "Hell yeah." Nothing more. I love enthusiastic podcasting people. So I'm going to introduce my correspondent for tonight is an old chestnut of mine named Nate Dogg, who you will see tomorrow night as well. Is it better than Death Rider, though? Did you see our Death Rider episodes? I had the second AD on from Death Rider. We talked about it. That was pretty cool. All right, let me bring him out. Hi, Nathan. Nate Dogg. What's going on?
Hi, Jeff. So
welcome to tonight's show.
Yeah. So you just saw this night. What are your thoughts, man? I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, Nathan, Nate Dogg, we need a little foreplay before we get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Let me start by saying that Guardians of the Galaxy has, this is the third the completion of a trilogy, and Guardians of the Galaxy is always something that was in my periphery in the realm of Marvel. Like, I know what Guardians of the Galaxy is, but I knew what Guardians of the Galaxy was. It's something I'd always heard, but I was just like, yeah, whatever. Guardians of the Galaxy, guy with the mohawk, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That sort of thing. And then I heard James Gunn was doing the movie. I saw the first one, didn't really, it was like whatever. I saw the second one, enjoyed that a hell of a lot more. And then I revisited both of them and absolutely fell in love with Guardians of the Galaxy. By the way, we were going to spoil the crap out of this gummo.
Yes.
And Bob Rose says, if anything negative is said, I'm blocking Jeff on all platforms.
I'd love to see you try, Bob.
Bob is the biggest Guardians of the Galaxy. He loves Guardians of the Galaxy. He loves James Gunn. He's got a James Gunn boner. And speaking of boners, Sergio Boner says, I want to take my son to watch it tomorrow. We love the first two. Yeah, I took him tonight. It's a long movie. It's 2 hours and 49 minutes. That was a tall order for my little seven-year-old son. But I bought him a milkshake and some French fries, and we sat down and we enjoyed it so much. I cried a little bit. I got really emotional.
But it's a
hold on.
punch.
Yes, it is. Wait, let me just go back to the thing though about before what we were saying. It grew on me. I rewatched Guardians 1 and 2, the fatherhood themes in Volume 2 when Rooker sacrifices himself for Quill.
That movie still gets me to this day.
Yeah,
I watched it like in preparation for this movie, and I hadn't watched it since 2019, and it's still, all the beats still felt like the first time.
Oh my God. Now here's the key. Now here's what makes James Gunn so great. Really, truly so great. One, the secret to James Gunn's success, and we could talk about this a little bit more in depth, is he makes movies with heart. That's what Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean, besides the jokes and besides just all of it, what makes those movies run is just an overwhelming amount of heart. He puts real humanity and love into these things, and he takes it super seriously. He somehow takes it super seriously while not taking it seriously all at the same time. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
like, because I'll tell you, the very first, I was psyched for the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, not because I was a fan, but just because that movie came out during my birthday weekend. So I knew what I was going to do that weekend. I had actually had birthday plans for once in my life. I remember seeing the first trailer and I heard Hooked on a Feeling. And that is a song that just, I feel weird whenever I listen to it. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And then when I got through the movie, I'm just like, I felt all the love in that movie. I felt, everything that James Gunn was trying to say, it came through.
What's, again, going back to that idea that, like, what makes James Gunn so great, it's not like you can give somebody Iron Man, give somebody Superman. Mom Longoria, do not stay. I know you want to stay. I appreciate it.
No.
Do not ruin it for yourself. We're going to spoil it. Please go.
If you have not seen this movie,
viewers.
Yeah.
And Mom Longoria, happy Mother's Day to you, because I know that Mom Longoria is in fact a mom, and this Sunday is Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day. In any case, here's what makes James Gunn so great is that anybody could take Spider-Man or Iron Man, and yes, like it takes talent and skill to make them good. It's not like a sure bet, but you're taking something that's like super established, like a what's it called? Something like a time-honored piece of IP, and you are already starting potentially with a lot of goodwill. Not necessarily, you don't necessarily get that goodwill, but the potential for that goodwill is there. And then all you got to do
is a lot of pressure.
And also a lot of pressure. But again, if you do the thing and you do it right, then you're gonna go for it. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be great. Facebook user says, and I'm literally in the parking lot about to see this. Well, come back and join us after you've watched it. Bob Rose says, if you watch 1 and 2 after 3, it makes them better, especially Rocket's arc. We all have dead people. Oof. Does that hit hard? What makes James Gunn so special, I'm like taking forever to get to my point, is that he took something that nobody cared about outside of like the diehard comic audience, and he spun hay into gold, man. Like he took something that was just on the fringe and he transformed it with just his incredible amount of heart. This guy understands comics. And you know what the best part is about these movies? It's like, they're not, I mean, yes, they're kind of bound to plot, but they don't, it's like they don't necessarily rely on the plot. They're not necessarily all predicated on the relationships. It's like this weird mixture of everything, like this patchwork that just, oh my God. Like he somehow, because I'm watching the movie and I'm like, I'm following the plot, but I'm also kind of like, the plot is so inconsequential to what they have to like find a code, for his heart, his death.
Okay, we are in spoiler territory now.
Yeah,
if you have not seen this movie, leave now.
Right. They're trying to find, and I could give a shit about I don't get, that's not what's important. The thing that's important is Rocket's backstory. It's the characters. And that's what Jay does it really well. He did it with Peacemaker. He's really, really good at, he did it with Suicide. Oh,
with the Suicide
can't say no. Oh, can't say that word on the internet. Sorry. I mean, on YouTube. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We both, the unalived squad, the unalived squad. Yeah. He finds a way, like his movies. It's not just like, oh yeah, Iron Man is Iron Man, and that's what makes it good. You know what I mean? It's the charactership, the story, they can't describe it. And he finds this way. You know what it really is more than anything? It's tone.
It's the tone. It's the casting. It's the love of characters that he's working with.
But the tone is so interesting because, as I said before, it takes itself super seriously, but also not seriously at the same time. And it's so whimsical. Like, you see other movies, like it's in a weird way. I'm rewatching the Batman, Christopher Nolan Batman movies right now, and I'm rewatching those right now, and like the thing that's like overwhelmingly, nauseatingly like what's the word? Intolerable about them is that they just take themselves so friggin' seriously, man. Like they just he just doesn't understand how to, like, even Burton, who Burton clearly takes himself very seriously, but he understands how to have fun with the material.
Yeah,
You know what I
these
mean?
movies, as much as I love them, they do kind of don't know how to be fun. They don't know how to, step back and chill.
Right. And that's what James Gunn just has this way. He has a voice in his writing where he weaves the human condition into these fantastical, ridiculous, like there's a walking tree plant guy who only says, I am
I am
Groot.
Groot.
Over and over and over again. And you know what's funny? He spent three movies having this guy just say, I am Groot, over and over and over again. And then the last line, he says, I love you guys. And it has such 3 words, so much impact just by being so repetitive. I mean, the guy just understands. And I got to tell you, like Bob Rose in the comments, he's super stoked for James Gunn heading up the DC movies and universe, whatever. I'm stoked, man. I'm especially after just watching this tonight. I'm like really, really stoked.
Yeah, like honestly, this is another podcast, but I was not a fan of the DCEU under Snyder. But James Gunn, I think, has the love and the understanding of the source material to make gold out of it.
Sure. Bob says, do you guys agree they also really aren't superhero movies? They're so much more sci-fi. The best sci-fi trilogy Disney has produced in 20 years. # better than Star Wars.
I'll concede that. Yeah, they do work. They do work as pure sci-fi movies.
I don't think of them as superhero movies at all. In fact, I have always thought in my mind since revisiting. Remember when I said I rewatched 1 and 2? When I did that rewatch, I suddenly reframed that. I was like, oh my God, this is Marvel's Star Wars. And it's like, it's basically like Star Wars. Like they're in like a kind of like used future, right? Like everything's kind of like grimy and like, used future tech. It operates on all the same levels as Star Wars does, right? Spaceships, pirates, whatever, just crazy off the wall aliens. And yet somehow it's also within the Marvel universe. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And man, I mean, it's great. It's friggin' great. And this trilogy is a really strong trilogy. 10 years, 3 movies, so much transpires over these 3 movies. He still says, I am Groot at the end of 3. We, the audience, can finally understand Groot. Right.
I you know what? I love that interpretation. I love that.
I was, and again, like even like what is his name? The great the bad guy, I forget his name.
The High Evolutionary.
Yeah, the High Evolutionary.
Played by Chukwudi Iwuji. He's got great. The role because James Gunn just loved him in Peacemaker. He just said, I want you in my movie.
Right. And like again, like great villain, and I know he's from the comics. I always get him confused with the Living Tribunal. Which is the guy with the 3 heads. All these guys are cosmic, all these cosmic entities in Marvel and whatnot. And that's the other thing that's great too, is that like with a thing like Guardians of the Galaxy, you can do a thing with ego. In fact, one thing that I would have loved to see, like, yes, it's like fine as like a trilogy, but I would love, and I know it's not, this is a Fantastic Four villain is Galactus.
I would love
Silver Surfer.
Galactus. Now that Disney has the rights for it, I think they're building towards it.
Right, but I think Guardians of the Galaxy, like if you even maybe bring them back when they do Fantastic Four, like bring crossover with the Guardians of the Galaxy for like both Silver Surfer and Mother effin Galactus. Louis Carr, what's up, Louis? He's seeing it Sunday. Got to bail for spoilers. You most certainly do, but Louis, you have to come on my show. I miss you, buddy. I miss you. Hope you're well. High Evolution. Bob Rose says, High Evolutionary's practical RoboCop makeup was so good. Yeah, you see his face is stretched over. He's got like a fake face and whatnot. It's really brutal.
Yeah. It's very disturbing to look at closely.
I mean, here, and you know what's okay? Again, another testament to what we're saying about like James Gunn making movies with heart and like humanity. How is it that the most interesting part of all of Guardians of the Galaxy are a robotic walrus, an otter with robot arms, a bunny rabbit with spider legs, and Rocket Raccoon, the four of them together in this movie where you have Adam Warlock, where you have spaceships and just like all sorts of crazy cosmic madness. And yet you have at the core of the story and the most interesting part, the thing that we're all waiting for. You're like, oh my God, I can't wait for the next scene that gives us a little bit more of that story to find out, you know?
Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie, like the one character that I think stuck out to me the most when I first saw trailers for the original Guardians of the Galaxy was Rocket. Like I always hoped that like he wasn't just going to be like a side comic relief character, but that he was going to get, you know, some development, and gradually he did. You know, we get the first inklings of his past in the first one. We get a little more in the second one, and here it's just he's there at the center.
Could you imagine if James Gunn didn't get to make Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Like how much of a crime that would have been. It would have been a crime, dude. Like just like
I gotta tell you, you know, because of the circumstances in which James Gunn was fired, if Disney really stuck by that decision, they would have been setting an impossible hiring standard.
Yeah.
Like, you would not be able to hire anybody for anything because one look at their social media and you're going to find something that might be a little offensive, even if no matter how many years prior to taking the job they said it, Disney would have to fire them. So it had to be James Gunn in this role. Otherwise,
I also,
you know, whoever took that role, the fandom would have been going over that person's, over that director's social media post with a fine-tooth comb.
You know, I want to go back to a second to what you were saying about Rocket Raccoon not being just a side character and actually being like going from a supporting character to almost a main character. I mean, first of all, again, a testament to James Gunn and his genius, like his visionary genius to create such pathos and give such that pathos to a CGI character and give it so much. Here's a creature that's not even human. Give it so much humanity. Like just, I mean, I just was beside myself, and I'm going to dive in for a second on AI. I want to do a whole podcast on AI, especially as how it relates to screenwriting and stuff. And I want to use, the reason why I'm bringing that up for a second is because I want to use James Gunn and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as an example as to why I don't care how good AI gets or how close they can get. There's never going to be a computer that could write such pathos for a non-human character with so much humanity and give, I mean, Rocket Raccoon should be nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor.
Bradley Cooper. Do you mean Bradley Cooper or do you mean
no? I mean the fucking raccoon himself, like the actual fucking raccoon, man. Like I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is not a real thing that I'm watching emote with so much like tragedy in its life, and I'm going like, God damn, this is brilliant. And it's like, there's no matter how good AI gets, and AI is amazing, and it's going to only get even more amazing. Eventually, AI is going to figure out how to time travel for us and how to keep us immortal and all this stuff. But I'll tell you something, AI would never be able to conceive of a story like that. They just won't. No. They just won't. You need that story comes from the human experience, from a spiritual human experience. And it's something that James Gunn is just somehow able to connect. And really, what's so beautiful about Rocket's full circle sort of arc is that it leads to the ultimate catharsis. I think at the end of the day, what makes story like really effective, this isn't a rule. This isn't like it always has to be. I'm just saying that what can make it really effective. So it's not a blanket be all end all, but really good catharsis at the end of an arc. In this case, you have Rocket coming in touch with what he was so long ago and getting to basically he can never change the past, but he's coming in contact with his past self in a way that he never intended when he frees the things raccoons. That were right. The raccoons are just like him, but he doesn't know. He keeps saying this whole time, I'm not a raccoon. I'm not a raccoon. And then he comes in contact with himself and he turns and he sees that he is in fact a raccoon. I mean, that had me, I was absolutely choked up with emotion at that moment. Because this is, what, in Greek, the Greeks, they call this gnosis. You ever heard that word gnosis? It's gnosis, man. It's self-knowledge. He has the knowledge of self, which is what allows him to go forth and continue onward in life, and it's fucking beautiful, man. It's beautiful. I can't say it enough, man. So AI is coming, or it's here, and it's gonna change the game and affect everything. But ultimately, is AI gonna replace James Gunn? I don't think so, man. Nothing can replace James Gunn.
AI could never do anything like that. It doesn't have the it doesn't have the metaphorical heart to write a story like James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Bob Rose says, I can't type all this into a comment, but Gunn writes himself as Rocket. Yes, so true. So true. With that in mind, think about the plot as if it parallels to his story with Disney. Oh boy. Yeah.
So for anyone living under a rock, James Gunn was fired for jokes he made about half a decade before Disney ever hired him. Right. And those jokes resurfaced on social media, and Disney, without any investigation on any regard to the fact that he basically was a good, upstanding employee of the company, fired him for these statements that they could have found in a background check when they first hired him.
It was such a performative act of bullshit, man. It just, I mean, this is why, and it's funny. This is,
and just to point out here, if there's any doubt about his character, literally everybody who worked with him, who knew him, basically he had this huge outpouring of support from all of his collaborators, past and present. Even Dave Bautista took it a step further and said, if you don't use James Gunn's script for Guardians 3, I am not coming back.
Yeah.
That's how much these people, all the collaborators loved him. So, take from that what you will.
Bob Rose says, giant corporation that takes cute things and Frankensteins them into a more efficient product, and the corporate head hates its smartest creation that is more talented than he could ever be, which is literally the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I mean, that's what ultimately happens, is that this guy, the High Evolutionary decides or discovers that there is no God, and therefore he needs to become God in order to find meaning where there is no meaning. And he creates something that is somehow figured out what he can never figure out. And that's what drives him. Really, it just drives him up the wall. And again, we see.
I don't think that's what drives him up the wall. Like they say in the scene where we see him completely unhinged, like one of the people there says, we had a breakthrough during treatment. And I think that might be some treatment for his condition, like whatever madness
Yeah,
is
they left that
driving
a
him.
little.
Because like we see him, because prior to that, we see him, you know, he's working with Rocket, and you know, he seems relatively well, we see him with the mask on,
Right.
if you will, the metaphorical mask on, not the actual RoboCop mask.
Right.
But you know, in that later scene, he's just completely unhinged. I think that's him, full mad scientist, full mask off, just completely, yeah, with the added aggravation of somebody else figuring out what he couldn't.
It's just amazing to me that like you had this whole like Rocket's whole backstory like could have been its own movie, and like you had an entire Guardians of the Galaxy movie attached to that movie.
That's what this was.
You know what I'm saying? Like it just made it so much better because it's like
I'll point out the first and last shots of this movie, the last shot prior to the credits, are like a visual inclusio. They're both Rocket, both shots of Rocket.
Right.
So if that doesn't drive it home, yeah, Rocket Raccoon is the protagonist of Guardians 3.
Totally. Totally. And, you know, I love the way that they left it. I love that Peter Quill goes back home to his grandpa.
Yeah.
I love everybody split, and like every single character is just so well written. Everything, the balance, there's a balance there. It balances all of these different elements just so friggin' well. It just, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Like it finds these little moments like James Gunn loves to let a scene linger like a stinky fart in the sweetest way. Like he just lets a scene go on a tad too long than it should. But there's always a good reason for it, because he injects humor, like just great humor into these little moments. There's these little things like the good dog, bad dog. Everything has a payoff, a setup and a payoff. Even his brother who takes over the magic arrow, the whistling arrow.
Yeah,
like he gives him like the simplest of like 1-2 beats. You know, it's like he can't use the arrow really well. Now he can use the arrow really well. The dog is a bad dog. Now he's a good dog. Like James Gunn understands he doesn't treat characters badly. He's like, okay, I'm going to give everybody a little something. And then, you know, you all are going to, you know, by the end of the movie, you'll have completed your little something, something. Everybody gets a little thing. I also love that Gamora doesn't end up with Quill.
I mean, I agree.
Because it's not the Gamora that he loved is dead, you know?
Yeah.
It would have been so like sick if it's like somehow she needs to fit what his feelings were of her future self that she doesn't know. Like that was never gonna, that didn't work. That was never,
it could never have happened, because that Gamora in Guardians 3 did not have the same experiences that the original Gamora had.
Right.
It could never have happened.
Right. So it was good that, you know, and I'm sure like he probably had like suits who are like, here's a note, James, like, you know, they need to fall in love at the end. And James Gunn was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, you know that James Gunn laid his foot down. It was like, that's not happening. They have to stay apart. It made so much sense for the story.
Like, to his credits, like they genuinely did have her, you know, go through Peter's bag, and I think she understands why she could have fallen in love with him. You know, because
right.
I think she realizes that, you know, he was ripped away from his family at a young age, and she can understand that feeling.
Well, you know what's interesting, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I did get a sense that maybe she did kind of fall for him a little bit more than she let on, and was but like stayed true.
Yeah,
she stayed true to herself in that I'm not in love. I'm not going to obligatorily be in love with this person because some future version of myself had gone that way. I know who I am. I am what I am, and I'm not that. And I thought that was cool. And fucking what's her face has come so far. Nebula.
Oh my god.
Oh god,
Yeah.
it's so great. She went from like I talk about insufferable. I don't know. She just really bothered me. She really grated on me at the beginning, and it's just her like her acerbic temperament is so wonderful. And like again, these movies are about love and friendship. You know what I mean?
Family.
Like, and family. Yes, of course. It's Vin Diesel's in this movie. Of course, it's about family.
Well, yeah, but like, yeah, but I also make the family point because, like, like Nebula's whole thing with Gamora in Volume 2 is just like, I just wanted you to be my sister. I didn't want you to be my enemy. I needed that, and you never gave me that.
Right. Right. Bob says Drax being called the father is better resolution to his arc than killing Thanos. 100%.
Oh, for sure.
100%. But that's what, again, these are all like, I mean, this is humanity, man. I mean, this is like, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. This is James Gunn just having so much heart. I keep saying that over and over again because it's just fucking true, man. The guy's loaded with heart.
Like, like Drax doesn't get enough of a character arc in this movie, but I do think that, like, Drax's whole arc up, in the first two movies and then the Avengers movies was getting vengeance for his family. Well, now, Ronan is gone, Thanos is gone. What's life after vengeance? He gets to be a dad to all those cute little girls.
Right. Bob says he handled the Gamora situation like a mature adult in a Disney space movie with talking animals. Like that's what's so funny, man. Like, I mean, that's like what's so like when you look at it on paper, it's so ridiculous, and yet it works. It just works so well on the screen. It really does. And I gotta say, like, again, it goes to show that like yes, like the antagonistic element was fine. It was fine to another Bob Rosium. It was fine, but it didn't, like, whatever the antagonist was, like, even like Adam Warlock. I remember that, like, he, in the end credits scene, they're breeding him to get revenge or whatever. Like, it was, but whatever he was trying to get, like, him going after them, like, it was so inconsequential to me. Like, I just, like, sure, it was great. I liked watching it, but like, the core of the movie did not rely on plot, even though it's 2.5 fucking hours long. It somehow wasn't about plot. It was just like, I can't explain it. It's beyond words, beyond my vocabulary to explain what it was.
And it's still a great story.
And it's still a great story, man.
I don't think there are many directors, writers who can do that.
Yeah. And I just, like, I'm super excited. I know why Bob is super excited for Superman Legacy, because James Gunn is going to take all of that heart. Now it's like, Guardians of the Galaxy, as we said, was just like a fringe property. Now he's taking one of the centerpieces. I mean, he's got all the characters to play with because he's the head of DC. But he's taking one of the centerpieces that has so much goodwill and now attaching himself to it. And he's probably going to do such incredible things with Superman. I mean, I'm so high on James Gunn right now after that movie. I'm like, I know it. I know it, man. And frankly, I want to see what he's going to do with Batman. I want to see. I can't imagine it, but I want to see it. So smartest thing you could have done was just let James Gunn be the head, because that guy, he just has the sensibilities. And I gotta say, I will tip my hat off to Marvel in just look, they basically, without admitting that they were wrong, because they didn't admit they were wrong for what they did to James Gunn.
Well, they hired him. That's an admission.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. They let him come back to make Guardians 3, which was them not only admitting that they were wrong, but that they desperately needed him for this movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Like, it bears saying again, nobody else could have taken the job, because that person was going, because the fandom was going to go over, that person's entire internet history with a fine-tooth comb. And if they found even like one statement, even remotely like what James Gunn was fired for, they were going to be trolling. They were going to be like bombarding Disney with that statement, be like, you're hiring this guy, but you fired James Gunn for basically the same
leverage.
thing.
He had leverage, whether he knew it at the time or not. I'm sure on some level he must have known, because there's no way that you do 2 super successful Guardians movies and then you turn it over to someone else. I mean, is there exception to that rule? Sure.
Yeah, but obviously
it wouldn't have worked.
Without a good reason, I don't think the fans would have flocked to this movie the way that they have.
Yes, I do agree. He was really great. Like, he was funny, but I don't like. Here's the thing, Bob. I didn't care what his like motivation was. Like, it was inconsequential to me. The best part was just him again. His character, just the character, he just wanted to be accepted. He just wanted to be like one of the guys, you know. And that was like, I was like, that's great. Like, that was just great. Like, I could not care less whether he completed his goal or didn't complete his goal or whatever it was going for.
And also, I guess one other thought that I did have was Disney corporate, take notes from this movie. You need to do something over the top, but you just need to tell the best story you possibly can. You know, don't do another Thor Love and Thunder.
Oof.
Try to be more like this.
Yeah, you know, for real. And I just want to say, I mean, it is crazy. It's so surreal because James Gunn was the writer of Romeo and Juliet and Citizen Toxie, The Toxic Avenger 4. He was a disciple of Lloyd Kaufman, who's probably never been a prouder papa. Like, I mean, Lloyd Kaufman beaming with pride that this protege of his, you know, just exploded. Probably the single biggest thing to come out of Trauma, like, truly. And you know, the thing about Trauma that people don't understand is that, you know, Trauma, there's lots of slime, there's lots of toxic waste, and things get sticky. And you know what else is sticky? Do you know what's sticky?
Is it Riot stickers?
It's stickers, particularly Riot stickers. Riot stickers are the official sponsor of the Frumess channel. As you can see, these stickers are printed on vinyl. They are beautiful. They are protected with an IV coating. The vinyl is weatherproof and waterproof. These things have a outdoor rating of a minimum of 5 years. And we have a special deal going with riotstickers.com that you can only get here at the bottom of this video. Link is in the description. And that is actually, the link is not in the description because I have to fill that in. I'll take care of it later. But basically, go to the little scrolling thing at the bottom here. Go to www.ridestickers.com/Frumess, where you can get 1,000 stickers for $79. Do you know how insane that is? I mean, Sharpie Riot, CEO of Riot Stickers, he must be insane. Did you saw that? He must have had the mind. He needs the Mind Stone to clear up his head.
He's great. He's nuttier than the High Evolutionary.
He's nuttier than the High Evolutionary. Okay. He's like, it's like someone perfected the sticker game and it's Sharpie Riot and he's lost his mind to do such a great deal. You go to riotstickers.com/Frumess. That's FRUM as in Mary, ESS, riotstickers.com. Let's listen to the theme song from Less Than Jake.
Posters and promo cards, there's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads, we can print on shirts, we can print on hats, we can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality, quick turnaround times and free shipping. We also offer free artwork support, great customer service, and so much more. We are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb.
And don't you forget it. Tyrese Daniels says Rocket Raccoon crying scene. Yeah, dude. I mean,
Oh my god.
just
Yeah.
unreal. Just unreal. Bob Rose says him being in charge of the Bat family will be great. Just even as a producer studio head, just imagine like Guardians of the Galaxy, we get like one of those slow motion scenes of like Batman walking with, his whole bat family behind him. You got Ace the Bat Hound just sort of like it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
You know what? And I want a Bat family hallway fight scene like we had in Guardians 3.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. It's gonna be, dude, it's gonna be cool, man. I am excited.
That hallway fight scene, I just gotta say, that was crazier than the hallway fights on Daredevil.
I have not seen, I've heard of these hallway fights. I have not watched the Daredevil or Punisher series, and I really need to.
You really do.
I know.
They have some of the best fight choreography I've ever seen.
What was I going to say? I have to tell you too, I was watching Shazam. I was watching Black Adam, which I got to tell you, I'm kind of checked out of most superhero movies at this point. Yes, I'm doing a Batman rewatch, but like, I'm tired, man. I'm kind of tired. Like the paint by numbers aspects of so many, like, I got to be honest with you. I saw the thing for the Marvels or whatever, like with
those three women. Yeah.
I got to tell you, man, I think I'm going to pass, man. I'm just not, I'm kind of like, I just don't think I'm down. I think I'm kind of burnt out a little bit. I'm excited for Fantastic Four. I'm excited for X-Men, but like, I got to tell you, man, like, I don't really know what else they're going to do. And it just goes to show you how badly Marvel needed Guardians of the Galaxy 3 after, Endgame and No Way Home. It's like, what's our next thing? I feel like Wakanda Forever didn't do exactly what maybe they were hoping it would do.
That was an intentionally subtle movie.
It was not.
It was subdued because they were definitely. This film had the death of Chadwick Boseman hanging over it, and they really, really tried to acknowledge that.
Oh my God, that just reminds me. Bob says, "No Sleep Till Brooklyn" is my favorite Beastie Boys song. That whole scene, we get one last Guardians fight. The Guardians, they do their slow-mo thing that they're famous for, and then they go into this hallway fight that is just. It's not only is it might be maybe it's not the most epic. It's not the most epic battle in a Marvel film. Like you get Endgame, you got Endgame and Infinity War for that. But it has so much, again, heart. It just
and it's also done in just one shot. It's one long tracking shot.
Oh, is it one long? Oh, I'm sure that it's a composite.
I watched it twice, and if it's not a there are no cuts in it, or at least no cuts that I could tell.
Or no, it's probably created to look like it has no cuts, but it probably has plenty of cuts. But the idea, the concept is we want one continuous tracking shot. That is rad. And it just shows, it's like, here's the Guardians at their peak one last time before, they walk their separate ways. And, they say at the very end, there's an end credit scene. There are two end credit scenes, and they're both really freaking great. We see that some time has passed. There's some new Guardians now. Adam Warlock is a Guardian, which I loved. I love seeing him as a Guardian, and the dog is a Guardian, and the little girl is a Guardian. That's great. And then at the very end is Peter Quill sitting with his grandpa eating cereal, just talking about mundane lawn mowing. And it says Star-Lord will return.
Now, did you notice the headline on the newspaper that
No, I did not. What is it?
Okay, so it's actually a headline about Kevin Bacon being abducted by aliens.
Oh, I did see that. Yes. Yeah. But what does that have to do with anything? Or
you did not watch the holiday special?
No, I did not.
The premise of the holiday special.
All right, don't spoil it. I'll watch it. Let me just watch it.
You should watch it, but like, it's a payoff to the Kevin Bacon running gag.
Okay, I will definitely watch it. But when they say Star-Lord will return, I'm kind of like thinking in my head, like, give us just Peter Quill on Earth with his like bag of tricks. Like, he's still got all his like space tech, and then it's just him like, working like flipping burgers and like just getting hijinks. And I don't know. I think that would be a fun movie.
It would be like, because Peter Quill's arc has always been him running away from Earth, even when like he actually gets some time to think about being on Earth in Endgame. He's just can't wait to leave. So this is the first time he's actually really made a serious return to Earth. So yeah, what's life like on Earth for him in the 2020s? That could be fun.
You're really good at sort of figuring out people's arcs. Nate actually, he once said, he was on here and he talked about the core character of what makes Spider-Man, and it really blew my mind because I never thought about it. What did you say, Nate? You said that.
All right, I said that basically what Peter Parker wants to do and what Spider-Man has to do are always polar opposites. Right,
they're in conflict. Whatever Peter Parker wants is the opposite of what Spider-Man needs to do.
Yeah.
And
he will always choose Spider-Man because that is the thing that needs to be done more than anything else on his plate. And
because of great power and great responsibility.
Yeah. So he sacrifices the school, the career opportunities, the opportunities to go on dates. He sacrifices those when he's faced with that choice. Without a second thought, even when it kills him.
Yeah, and that's like the core of the character, and I don't know, that's really great. But I don't know.
Other superheroes with secret identities have that problem, but I think Spider-Man does it so well.
Right. Spider-Man is Spider-Man nails that core concept so well. I mean, is there really, I'll be honest with you, like, sure, like seeing the characters pop up here and there is fine, but like, I kind of don't think I need any more Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Like, I think I'm like happy with these three. I feel like it wraps itself up really nicely. Like, sure, like the characters all survive, like have them pop in from here and there time to time. Again, if you
though, I would like to see more movies, more stories from that sector of the galaxy, even if they're not on the Guardians.
Sure.
I'd love to see the Ravager stories. I'd love to see the Ravager stories. I'd love to see, well, kind of anything that's happening there. Maybe even just a day in the life on Nowhere, with
I don't, I mean, that's cool. I personally, I just feel like it was just the perfect amount. Like, if you have somebody come back, like let's say that they do like encounter the Silver Surfer and like Galactus, and like we're in the cosmic zone of outer space, like it's the perfect opportunity to get like Rocket Raccoon, right? Like just have Rocket Raccoon. They need some. Reed Richards is trying to figure out some future tech. Rocket Raccoon comes in there to help him out, like for a little bit. Like, that's cool, Does it really fit? No, it's kind of like you don't really see those characters interacting in the comics, but like considering that Rocket is such a he's the center of the franchise now, or he was the center of this movie,
and he's a certified genius. So yeah, you could totally have him collaborate with someone like Reed Richards on project.
Paper. It works on paper. It totally works. But it's weird to think. It's weird to imagine that Thanos, like, and a snap and all that stuff happened with Reed Richards is somewhere on the planet and he just hasn't become Mr. Fantastic yet. But like that he, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird to think that like this, I mean, Reed Richards is like Illuminati level. I mean, we see him in the Illuminati, which is from the comics, in Doctor Strange 2, so
right.
I don't know. I thought that was kind of
but that's another Earth's Reed Richards.
Bob says I'd watch a Kraglin and Cosmo movie. Okay.
Yeah. Sure. That could be Marvel's own Turner and Hooch.
I loved seeing Michael Rooker make just a tiniest of little cameos. Like, how could they not have him there for that moment? It was so perfect. Just that little beat. oh god, when he dies in the second one, that was so fucking like incredibly emotionally sad and amazing. And oh god, I'm gonna have to wait a few years to rewatch all of these movies, but like I will, and it will be a really great rewatch of all three back to back to back. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really great. Although I got to tell you, man, after that whole scene with those with his friends with Teef and Lila and Floor, I mean that was really
it was hard to watch.
Stuff.
Like, can I tell you a little secret?
Yeah.
That scene where Rocket and those friends give themselves names, that was actually put on YouTube to promote the movie. And I wound up watching it. And typically I try to avoid that kind of stuff because I like to go in blind. But this was one of those times where like I was really happy to have been able to watch it because I was able to like mentally prepare myself for, you know, what I thought I was going to see in the movie. And even though there is no, like, you know, even though you don't see anything particularly gruesome happen, you see the aftermath. You know they're in an abusive environment. And like, you know, having that little bit of prep, I think that helped me steel myself for what this movie was going to do.
You know what's amazing too? Like, just a great example of a Chekhov's gun. He has that key card. It's the first device that he ever makes, really, truly.
Yeah.
He keeps it on him always. And it's like he returns to the source. He returns to the beginning to free, again, going back to when he frees all the raccoons, and he has to use, it's like the only way that he can like move forward in life and like feel like whole and like be okay is if he takes the first invention he ever did and actually uses it to free these animals.
Yeah.
And that allows him to free himself from the cage that he's sort of kept himself in his own mind. You know, I'm not a raccoon, like just all that stuff, you know?
Yeah. Like when he says later, you know, when he says the High Evolutionary, like, you know, he says, my name is Rocket Raccoon. That is so cathartic. It is him accepting what he is.
Right. Right. Which is honestly, there's one other moment. I'm going to end it here. Unless is there anything else we're missing?
No, I don't think so. I think we
pretty much covered it.
Yeah.
We hit all the beats. So I'll end it with this, that what I was reminded of when he says, I am Rocket Raccoon is one of my favorite moments in any movie, really. And again, it's this idea of gnosis. It's this idea of like just self-knowledge. And every time I watch this part of this movie, like I get choked up and I almost want to cry. I just even thinking about it makes me want to cry, is when Peter Pan in Hook. I love Hook. I think Hook is one of Steven Spielberg's best movies. It's often considered, for some reason, like millennials like Hook because they grew up with it, but like it's, you know, I don't know, it was critically panned and Spielberg isn't too stoked on it.
I mean, I think it certainly ages well because it's like it's a movie about, you know, reconnecting with your inner youth, and you know, just finding that little part of you that's always going to be there.
Right, and there's this moment, and obviously that, you know, that's what Hook is all about. You know, remembering who you really are inside, just like everything that we were just talking about. But there's this moment where he finally transforms into Peter Pan, and Rufio goes, what does he say? It says, you can do this and you could do that. You can, you can dance, you can play ball, and you can, and then he raises his sword into the air and he just crows. And when he crows, it's honestly one of the most, it's so fucking beautiful because it's somebody coming in contact with what they truly are and being at peace with themselves and embracing themselves completely. And it's like, again, using that word gnosis and using the word again, catharsis, it's this inner catharsis, this beautiful bursting of emotion in understanding who and what you are in the world. And when he crows and he looks up in the sky, and it's just this beautiful moment of triumph.
And that's kind of the last shot of Rocket. He's crowing, he's looking up to the sky, he's
and well, but also when he says, I am Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
that is him crowing. He finally is able to realize that I am a raccoon, and that was the problem. He had to free the he literally had to free the raccoon from the cage in order for him to be okay. He was never going to be okay, and that's why he always had a chip on his shoulder in all the times he shows up in movies, right?
Yeah, he could never accept himself.
He could just never accept himself. And then the moment that he accepts himself, he is able to finally take on God. It's really weird. Really weird. Great. It's just excellent. Bob Rose loves Hook, but Bob Rose is like me. Bob Rose and I, we love movies that people hate. That's just
I mean, honestly, art is subjective.
Art is very subjective.
Like you love the Schumacher Batman movies and
passionately.
And you know, and your feelings on that matter are totally valid.
That's Nate Dogg's way of being like, and I totally disagree.
but that's the point.
That is the point.
I'm free to not like it as you are to love it.
Yeah, and Howard the Duck. That's right. Howard the Duck makes an appearance too. That was great to see him. I think he's in something else. Wasn't Howard the Duck in another? He's in Captain Marvel. Maybe he shows up somewhere else.
The only outside of the Guardians movies, I think people have caught him in Endgame during that massive final battle.
Maybe just like an Easter egg.
It's a little bit of an Easter egg. Beyond that, though, cool. I like that's why I want to see more movies from this sector. I mean, give Howard the Duck something to do. Give Cosmos something.
Here's my one thing though. Like, not that I disagree with you, but in my mind, I'm like, what do you give? How do you give Howard? Like, I mean, we've seen what a whole Howard the Duck movie looks like.
I'm not saying it has to be the protagonist, but you
get duck condoms when you get duck condoms and a half naked Leah Thompson when you do a full feature length Howard the Duck movie. But like, I feel like some of these characters are serve the best when they're just in a scene or two. You know what I mean? Like,
that's also valid.
So I don't know if I need like a full this guy movie or that guy movie, or like if they did a Starjammers movie, Starjammers from X-Men, with Scott Summers' dad as Corsair and stuff. Like, I don't know if I need to see a Starjammers movie. Like, I want to see the Starjammers pop in for a second and leave. I don't need to. Or same thing with like Alpha Flight.
Right.
I do not need an Alpha Flight movie. I need a single scene where the X-Men venture into Canada and bump into Alpha Flight, and that's funny. Like, wow, great. Oh, look, it's Sasquatch, and now we're So I don't know. I'm trying to think of like if there is something on the periphery like that I do need. One thing I very much want to see that they could do. I would love to see a Red Hulk versus Green Hulk. That would be cool.
Yeah,
that would be interesting. Or just World War Hulk, like a proper World War Hulk. Would be interesting.
I feel like those things are on the table. I don't know if you've seen like She-Hulk, but they have teased.
Have not. Oh, do not spoil. I do want to watch that.
No,
Yeah.
When you see it, you'll see that I think that they are open to the possibilities of doing more with Hulk lore.
Wow, Bob Rose says his number one choice to direct a Marvel movie would be Howard. I've said this for decades. A big fan of the comics. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't need it, man. I just don't need it. What I do need, you know what I would want to see? I want to see, like, it's your next Avengers level event. They did it in the Ultimates. Remember when Ultimates was like super? Brian Michael Bendis did the Ultimates, where they all go up against Hulk in Manhattan, the Manhattan incident, where Hulk is like eating. Hulk is straight up eats people. Like, he's like just absolutely. I love the Hulk, the ultimate version of the Hulk, and he's very much an antagonist in the Ultimates, and I want to see like the Hulk is like a world level threat. The Hulk is coming back to Earth. He's pissed. Everybody is rallying against the Hulk and whatever is coming. World War Hulk. That would be gnarly to see, like live action style. And then Nick Fury pops up. Oh no, that's Secret Invasion. My bad. They all kind of blur. Together.
Secret Invasion's coming later this year.
Right. But that's going to be a show, right?
That's going to be it's going to be a show.
Which means they're not going to use that many characters. You know, when they do that, they're like, okay, let's take 3 characters. See, that's the one thing I don't like about Marvel, I guess. I feel like you've established so many fucking people. And obviously what it really comes down to is it comes down to money, it comes down to actors and agents and business. That's what's preventing this from happening. Because if it was animated, it would totally happen at this point, where you've established so many mother effing people, so many properties at this point, that they all should be able to crisscross at any given moment in time. This one's guest starring here. This one's guest starring here. But the problem with that is actors are the thing that bottleneck that, because this was
when it's live action, you gotta, you have to have all those moving parts move in tandem just to get a movie off the ground.
Scheduling also. It just,
with animation, it's easier to, at least go on and create the thing, even if you don't have all the actors you want.
That's why when you had like, remember that 90s Spider-Man show? And then like,
I loved that Spider-Man show.
I love that Spider-Man show with Avi Ovid's Spider-Man. And like, what was great about it? Like, oh, here's the X-Men. The X-Men just popped in there out of nowhere, and the X-Men show, they did a really good job. They really dived deep into the X-Men vaults. And they really, they had the Brood, you had the Morlocks. They went all out, and it's like,
and also that show also nailed the social commentary that the X-Men comics were going for.
Sure, absolutely.
Like it worked on so many levels.
We've reached a nice round hour, and I think that's a good place to stop. I want to thank my good friend Nate Dogg for hopping on and talking turkey with me, and he's going to be back here tomorrow night. Tomorrow night around this time, we're going to be knee deep in My Shadow. Bob Rose has been in the comments. He's playing Shadow. Wait until you hear his Shadow voice. It's great. Wait until you hear Nate Dogg try not to laugh when he's talking about Lond Pickleman.
Lond Pickleton.
See,
I just did it without
Mustard
even
McNasty.
Yeah.
Mustard McNasty is a live action character from a previous one of my shorts, the Sangria series. He's the antagonist in Sangria. I just recycled the character name.
Nice.
For that one. And Lond Pickleman is a Bob Rose creation that was not in Gouge Away briefly, but now I was like, I got to fold him in to this one as well. I don't know if we'll see him on Cut to Him, but just having a name cameo I thought would be really fun to write in. So tune in tomorrow night for My Shadow. This is very, very, very like interesting sort of experiment we're trying to do on this channel. It's not an original concept. People have been doing audio plays forever. It's just that as an independent filmmaker wanting to make another film, but not having the resources or the logistics in place to do so at this time, but wanting to sort of workshop and just do something with the script, with the idea, the original vision before it gets scaled down, chopped down. We're doing this audio play, and I got to tell you, I was listening back to our rehearsal and for notes to give to the readers, the actors, and it was really cool, man. Like maybe because I wrote it, I can see it in my mind very easy, but just listening back,
this is the movie that you're making in your mind.
You have to make the movie in your mind if you're listening back too, like in your own. And I'm thinking in my head, maybe there
I can't remember who said this, but somebody once said when you actually create a film, you make 3 movies. There's the movie you make in your mind, the movie you actually shoot, and then the movie you make in the editing room. So that's true.
So
tomorrow night we are getting the version of My Shadow that Jeff has made purely in his mind.
That's a good way to put it. And so I'm very excited. And I'm thinking in my head, maybe I will write something that's intended to be an audio play, meaning that it's not supposed to be a feature-length film down the road, and do something else that's meant for the channel purely as an audio play for the channel. So it's like something I'm never intending to shoot, something so ambitious and outrageous that is just meant to be solely for the theater of the mind. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, if you do it, I'll be happy to be part of it.
And I'll be happy to tap you for it. Again, thank you, Nate Dogg. Peace and hair grease, everybody. Check out riotstickers.com. I'm not going to play you out with the Patreon, but go check out the Patreon as well. We will see you next time.